From our readings on guilds, we find that the methodologies of polyculture design rely more on species interaction than on configuration, although both are necessary inputs to a design. Thus, in designing the best or most beneficial species assemblies, we need to know about the use, the concepts of species guilds, and the co-actions of species. Guilds can be a powerful and transformative concept within the themes of permaculture design. Guilds are plantings that are designed to have the stability and function of a natural ecosystem, which makes them very low maintenance and productive over long periods of time. Guilds turn us into wild tenders or nature tenders who gently interact with and co-evolve within an ecosystem. We can catch and store our energy into many years of return. A permaculture guild is a functional community of plants that are intentionally planted together to work cooperatively, mimicking a natural ecosystem to support each other's growth and productivity. In the natural world, we often notice assemblies of plants or animals of different species that nevertheless occur together over their range or habitat. Closer examination of such mixed assemblies often reveal a set of mutual benefits that arise from such commingling of togetherness. These benefits offer help or protection to those of the whole assembly, as when a bird of a species acts as a lookout for another or defends others from a hawk. Instead of monoculture, a guild is a polyculture where different species perform various roles, such as attracting pollinators, deterring pests, building soil nutrients, and providing ground cover or mulch. This design maximizes resource use and biodiversity, reduces the need for external inputs like fertilizers and pesticides, and creates more resilient and self-sustaining garden systems. When we design plant guilds, we always try to do it in a polyculture. We try to maximize the benefits of each species to the other. We can also add factors of convenience to ourselves, which save us inputs of fertilizers or pesticides. A guild then is a harmonious assembly of species clustered around a central element. That element could be a plant or an animal. This assembly acts in relation to the element to assist in its health, aid in our work management, or buffer adverse environmental effects. Three Sisters is an example of an indigenous practice rich in traditional ecological knowledge, where each plant species, plays a specific role in creating a beneficial habitat, which in turn we also benefit from. Components of a permaculture guild are going to be core plant or the central plant. This is the star player around which the guild is often built. It is generally some sort of perennial food plant, such as a fruit tree, but it can also be an other productive plant as well. In the Three Sisters example, corn would be considered the core plant. Nutrient providers are going to be plants like legumes that fix nitrogen from the air into the soil, or dynamic accumulators with deep tap roots that are going to pull nutrients from the subsoil, which can then be accessed by other plants. Pest deterrents and attractors are also components of a permaculture guild. Plants that repel pests with their scents, or those that attract beneficial insects that prey on the pests. Ground coverings are another aspect. Low-growing plants that suppress weeds, retain soil moisture, and build the soil health. This layer can also include plants used for mulch. Mulch plants, species with a large leaves that can be chopped and dropped to create living mulch around the core plant, helping with moisture retention and soil health. And finally, climbers and vines, plants that use other plant species for support and then fill in that vertical space of the guild. Increased productivity is one of the benefits of designing a guild. The cooperative relationships lead to healthier plants, and that in return leads to higher yields. Here we're looking at poppies that are going to be attracting pollinators, artichokes that are going to grow large and create shade, crimson flax, which is a dynamic accumulator pulling calcium from deep in the subsoil, and melon, which is going to be able to shade and cool the ground. There is reduced labor, less need for watering, fertilizing, and pest control as the guild performs these functions naturally, as well as improved soil health. Nutrient cycling, improved soil structure, and higher organic matter are all created through the combination of different plant types. The varied root systems, litter, and interactions among different plant species build soil fertility naturally. Nutrient cycling occurs because of fallen leaves, decomposing roots, and organic matter from multiple plant types, and that feeds soil organisms, which in turn make nutrients available to plants. Deep roots break up compacted soil and create channels for air and water infiltration, while fibrous roots bind soil particles together, preventing erosion. Both of these are contributing to an improved soil structure. Continuous input from plant litter and roots boosts organic matter, improving water retention and microbial activity, as well as nutrient availability. Over time, these interactions lead to living, resilient soil that gets richer each season without the need for synthetic fertilizers or constant amendment. In well-designed plant guilds, many of the tasks that humans typically perform, like watering, fertilizing, and pest control, are handled naturally through this ecological relationships that we've assembled together in this guild. Deep-rooted plants help draw up moisture and shade the soil, reducing evaporation. Ground covers act as living mulch, keeping the soil cool and moist. Nitrogen-fixing plants like clovers and legumes capture nitrogen from the air, making it available to nearby plants. Dynamic accumulators like comfrey draw up minerals from deep in the soil and return them to the surface through leaf litter. The diversity of the guild confuses pests and attracts beneficial insects. For example, flowering herbs lure pollinators and predatory insects that keep pest populations in check. Certain plants even repel specific pests through scents or chemical compounds. Creating open soil surface conditions or providing mulch allow trees to have their roots feed at the surface, unlike grasses which compete with the tree roots. Mulch is actually a cornerstone of both reduced labor and improved soil health when we're talking about permaculture and guilds. It plays several overlapping ecological roles that help mimic the natural forest floor, where organic matter is constantly cycling. Mulch acts like a protective blanket over the soil. It keeps the soil cool and shaded, so less watering is needed. It buffers temperature swings, so roots stay cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. It prevents crusting. Water infiltrates more easily instead of just running off or pooling. The result? You spend less time watering the plants, and the plants also experience less stress. A thick mulch layer smothers weeds and the seeds by blocking sunlight. Fewer weeds mean less competition for nutrients and water. You also spend less time weeding. Less labor, healthier plants, more productive plants. As mulch breaks down, it becomes part of the soil's organic matter. It feeds the soil organisms like earthworms, fungi, and microbes. It improves the soil structure by increasing aggregation, creating that crummy texture that we're always looking for in a good, healthy soil. It releases nutrients slowly as it decomposes, essentially acting like a slow release fertilizer. Over time, mulch turns into humus, enriching the soil naturally. We have made reference in pest control to the host plants. These can be specified by observing, researching, or selecting plants to host specific predatory insects or organisms. When we're talking about ground foragers, we can talk about chickens or swine, pigs. These are species that can come in and clear out fallen fruit and feast on any larvae that may have accumulated during that time. They can be returned back out into the orchard for relatively short periods of time while the fruit is falling and accumulating quicker than it is decomposing. We also can talk about attracting insectivores. This is typically going to be birds. These are going to be organisms that are going to help mitigate or manage your pest populations by looking through the nooks and crannies in your guild and finding those little larvae and little pockets of egg masses. These are going to be very beneficial organisms to help control that pest population. And bonus, while they're out there scavenging, oftentimes there is some pollination and cross-pollination that takes place. Mollusk control, we're looking mostly at snails and slugs, and can be almost totally controlled by a duck flock or several large lizards. They will eat anything and everything mollusk related. We can also talk about guard dogs. These would be appropriate for deer, rabbit, or other vertebrate pests. A small number of guard dogs are going to be able to be fed and kenneled in the orchard or are able to sufficiently control fox predation or other organisms that are coming in and creating a pest situation. It's also important to note that dogs that are raised and domesticated with a flock of ducks or chicken or geese are not going to hunt those chickens or those ducks or those geese. They are going to know that they are to protect them as opposed to have them as prey. We can also talk about hawk kites, which are going to be a man-made tool that you can bring onto the guild. They're going to act as a deterrent to the flock birds that might come in and eat your fruits or your berries or the seeds of your sunflowers. They're going to be sprung out over the guild. Hawk kites are an example of a man-made tool that you can introduce into your guild. You can suspend them over a berry crop or a sunflower field, anywhere where you want to mitigate flock bird predators. They are most effective when used sparingly. You don't want to leave them out for long periods of time because your target species that they are supposed to be deterring will become acclimated to them, and then the hawk kite or the little drone or model airplane is not going to be as effective of a tool. In general, interactions between plant and animal species are that most species get along fine. This is obvious from a study of any complex home garden or botanical garden. Perhaps about 80% of all plant species can commingle with ill effect. Some species greatly assist others in one or many other ways. Positive benefits arise from placing such species together where they can interact and be beneficial to one another. And that's going to be about 10 to 15% of species. A permaculture interaction matrix is a design tool that maps the relationship between different elements in a landscape. This can include plants, structures, resources. It's to help you make informed decisions about the placement and functions of your landscape. A design tool, the matrix is a visual planning tool used to understand and map the connections between different elements in the landscape design. Here, we are evaluating two useful species. Each has been selected for useful product. We have a simple tabulation of table 3.5, which gives us possible interactions. Really quickly, let me go through and show you what we're looking at. Here, we can see that this is a positive or a plus sign. That is going to be used to indicate that there is beneficial result taking place, a beneficial interaction. The yields might be increased, or there's some sort of thing that's happening in that relationship that's causing benefit to one or both of the plants. If we see the circle or the zero, that is used to indicate no change. There's no visible, notable interaction one way or the other. It's pretty much a neutral. Neither plant is really aware of the other. And then finally, this over here is our minus sign, and that's going to indicate a reduction in yield, some sort of negative interaction that's taking place. And so we look at species A and we look at species B, and we look and we try and determine what the outcome of planting these plants next to each other might be. It's always going to be a safer or a better practice to mix or complicate a crop than to go towards a monoculture or pin your hopes all on a single main crop. Always better to use this analysis, but to really study the reality of what's happening in your land, in your guild. I hope you enjoyed this quick little overview of permaculture guilds.